Buongiorno. My name is Terence Baker, news editor, Europe, Middle East and Africa for Hotel News Now, part of STR and CoStar. I'm here today with Patrick Mendes from Accor. Welcome. Let's talk about your EBITDA numbers because they're very, very strong. You reached more than $1 billion the last time. I mean, how do you look at growth in Europe and also in Italy, perhaps, in terms of the Accor portfolio going forward?
Well, you start strong. Hi, Patrick Mendes. I'm the CEO for Europe and North Africa for Accor, specifically in charge of the division called now Premium, Mid-Scale and Economy. Yeah, you start with a big question about the billion. That was the big figure for us. Honestly, to achieve 1 billion of EBITDA for the group at the global level is a record, and we are in the same kind of range for this year, even if I cannot communicate the real figures for the moment, but we are in the same kind of growth. So I'll say that for Europe, it represents roughly 50% of this. So Europe is still a big part of the Accor portfolio, but it's losing a little bit its share, not because it's reducing, but because the others are growing. So to give you a quick overview, last year was a record year for Middle East and Africa, record for Southeast Asia. Americas were quite good also. Europe had a very good growth because it's the recovery of COVID, which is paying off now. And that's it, that's why. So it was a kind of all planets align, showing good results in almost all the regions. We were still waiting for the Chinese to come back, which they start to come back now. So yes, it was a record year and a great year for Accor, and also a kind of positive outcome after the new organization, the new strategy that Accor has implemented since 2022.
We'll talk about China a bit later, perhaps. I mean, 2024 obviously had some mega events in Europe: Paris Olympics, Taylor Swift triumphantly moving through Europe. 2025, not so much. I mean, the other demand drivers will keep you up to that billion EBITDA, presumably. I mean, where are you seeing demand come from internationally or within Europe?
Yeah, the beauty of Accor is our diversity in terms of geography and brands. So we come from super economic to super luxury or hyper luxury, and from France to Thailand, from Brazil to any country in the Middle East. So that gave us some kind of strengths when we have some changes in occupation or in events or in big movement in the world. And we can see that the fact of having a diversity in geography give us some stability. In fact, on the last 20 years, we are not only strong in one country. I was talking about Europe. Europe used to represent 80% of the group 20 years ago. Now it's 45 to 50% of the group. So that's the first answer. Now going back to the big events. Yes, that was amazing. Olympics, we decided to become a premium partner. Last year, this year, last 2 months. Becoming a big premium partner means a lot. Where we are French, it was in France, it was in Paris. We have roughly 1,600 hotels in France. So it was a huge event for us, and it went very well. As you know, in all aspects, the quality of the event, the quality of the sport, the security, the beauty of Paris. Accor, of course, was a big actor because we were operating the villages. So we received 16,000 athletes and media. We were managing the villages, plus all our hotels. So these events were very important. But there is a but. When you have a big event, you have some shoulder dates. Before the events, it was not so good. After the events, it's difficult to recover. So it's not helping in keeping stability. So the fact of not having a big event next year, for me, I don't see this as a weakness or as a big headwinds. We will come back with stability in Europe with not big events. We had the Rugby World Cup last year. We had the Olympics this year. We're going to have some big events in terms of corporate business and MICE business next year. So I keep only the positive of those big events. Good visibility, awareness, Europe is becoming again something very organized, very well known in the world. Everybody wants to travel to Paris now. Germany is coming back very strong also. So I see those events as a showcase of what Europe can be and what Accor can be in Europe.
And in terms of your portfolio, you 5,600 hotels and counting, I believe. Where are you looking to expand in Europe? Is it secondary, even tertiary cities? Is it conversions? Is it soft brands? I mean, where do you see scale happening for you around Europe and in Italy in particular?
Well, you said it. We have in the group 5,600 hotels, as you were saying, 3,000 in Europe, North Africa. So it's a big amount. As I told you, it's more than 55% of the business. In terms of room, we're talking about 350,000 rooms in Europe. So what do we want to do in Europe in terms of growth? I will say three main things. The number one is when we are a leader, to keep the leadership and to gain capillarity through conversions, through franchising. So we have new brands like Handwritten, like Tribe, like Movenpick, like Grit. Those brands are growing very fast in secondary destination in those markets. I'm talking about France, Germany, UK, Belgium, Switzerland, where we are already the leaders, but we want to increase our capillarity because size matters, and the fact of having a big size gives us lots of advantages.
There are so many brands, you're not cannibalizing existing assets.
We have 50 brands, so it's 45 plus, depending on the way you count it, but it's roughly 50 brands. The second is to grow in other destinations where we are not the leader. And here I'm talking about Mediterranean, so Italy is clearly one of it. Italy, Greece, Spain, Morocco, those are the countries where we're looking at very seriously with leisure and MICE and corporate brands. And this is where we are growing. We just opened a Tribe in Malpensa. We've just opened a first Handwritten in Italy. We opened 2 Movenpicks in Italy. So we are using those brands to grow in those markets. So I'm talking about East, South, Mediterranean are the new trends for us. It represents roughly 50% of our development. And the third trend in terms of development is to guarantee quality in our brands. So I'm cleaning the network. I think it's key when you want to develop brands and you're meeting with franchisees, you're meeting with owners. They want to have the guarantee that you are consistent in your brand. And that's why I'm really demanding with my teams on RPS, on quality. And we did something quite interesting 2 years ago. We call that a project internally. Pure means a kind of identification of who are the brand killers or the detractors in our brands. And we know that we have some hotels that are not at the right level. And we met with all the owners saying, or you rebrand, or you upgrade by doing some capex, or we might need to exit your hotels because it's not at the right standard. This is a key one for me. To develop, you need some time to reset and restart.
So it's quantity and quality. Let's talk about North Africa. I believe you lived there for a while, did you not? Did you tell me you lived there? But you always covered North Africa.
No, I lived in Latin America.
Latin America. Okay.
I cover North Africa today. So North Africa is part of the North Africa.
What are the plans for North Africa? Is it just Morocco and perhaps a little Egypt, or is?
Well, Africa is a big zone, and of course it's very linked with France and Europe. We used to have in our organization, like in all the groups, some back and forth going with Dubai or with Middle East or linking in with Europe. We've decided at Accor to link the North African market with Europe because it's a feeder market, same languages, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, but also all the Senegal and all the Côte d'Ivoire, all this Ivory Coast, sorry. So we have big plan there. So Morocco is clearly a big one because there is a 2030 World Cup happening in North Africa and Portugal in 6 years. So we are developing a lot. We have more than 50 hotels in operation in Morocco. Tunisia is also a growing market. So yes, we also Ivory Coast and Senegal are big markets. So we are growing more in the luxury segment and the premium segment for the moment, but we are starting also to see interest in a secondary destination for Tribes, for Ibis styles, where these markets are growing very fast. So yes, so it's a focus of the group, a second focus of the group, which is linked to what I've told you earlier, the second countries we are investing on to accelerate our development.
obviously those countries that have that francophone and French linguistic,
Yes.
I mean, obviously very strong. Let's talk about some challenges. There's ESG, climate change, the Middle East, and Russia, Ukraine. Still, what are you seeing as the main challenges in development in Europe?
Well, ESG now is not anymore. Is not anymore a dream. It's a reality, and we cannot develop. We cannot operate if we don't act with some ESG concern. We did a survey in 7 big countries in Europe recently. More than 50% of the travelers think that they consider ESG. Like food waste, like electricity, like
Wi-Fi,
all that are something very important in the choice of travel or choice of destination. So for us, we are French. We are in the country which is one of the big, let's say, disruptor or big pusher in terms of ESG. So we are part of this. We have a lot of action opening in our hotels. All our GMs, for example, they have 30% of their short-term incentive plan, which is a bonus plan, linked to ESG concern. It can be food waste, it can be plastic elimination, it can be electricity and gas spend. So we are really looking at this very seriously at Accor. And in terms of development, this is why we are accelerating conversion. If you take Italy, for example, in 2024 and 2023, 50% of our development are conversion, so hotel converted in a brand. So we know that in Italy, the market is still very, very independent. So only 20% or less than that of the rooms are chain hotels. So this is the number one. So 50% is a conversion of existing hotels. So we are not talking about new builds, but 25% is building conversion. So meeting space or a tower of offices transforming hotels. It's happening more and more in France, in Italy, in Spain. So this is also not impacting as much in terms of sustainability. And the rest, 25%, is new build. But we are very concerned about the selection of the location, the impact. We always look at two sides, the pro and the cons, or the plus and minus when we are developing in a new destination. Is it impacting more positively the community, the nature, the countryside, than negatively? And if the negative is above the positive, we won't develop.
And lastly, Patrick, China, you hinted at it. They're not fully back yet, or not probably even halfway back yet, but how are you seeing Chinese travel, and what are you doing to prepare for a new wave? Because presumably that clientele needs to rediscover Europe and perhaps Accor.
Yes, surely Accor. But China is an interesting market. You know, I used to run international sales and in Accor 15 years ago, and we were talking about Chinese when they hit the 100 million visitors. It was kind of a, wow, record. In 2019, we had more than 150 million Chinese visiting other countries. It was for the first time they came above the Americans. The Americans were always the number one international travelers. So China came to 150. Now they went back to 50 million. Now we are talking about potentially 120 million this year or next year. So they're not yet back to the 2019 level, but they're coming back very strongly. And when it's growing, it's very fast. It's big figures. They will be back to 150 million very soon. But for the moment, they are still traveling a lot in Asia, in Southeast Asia. So Australia, Japan, Thailand, Cambodia, these are the main countries. We start to see Chinese coming back to France and to Europe. I'll say that we are around 60% of the volume pre-COVID, but it's clearly a market which is growing fast with a different kind of Chinese traveling. Not anymore those groups that we had in the past. They are traveling individually, with family, high-end travelers. So it's a different kind of Chinese traveler, very interesting for our markets, staying 15 days or 20 days, visiting Rome, Paris, and London. So they are very interesting travelers.
And I know that both Accor and your Chinese partners have divorced the ownership with one another, but you still have partnerships in China which are very strong and draw those travelers in. Yes,
we have big partnership. We are developing a lot of our brands in China, partly through our own teams and partly through a partner called Wadzu that we used to have in developing our eco mid brands. It's important for us to stay in China and to develop our brands because these are travelers that will experience our brands in China, and after when they travel to Americas or Middle East or France, they know Mercure, they know Fairmont, they know Ibis. So that's why we are developing more for that, more because this is a very interesting outsource market or outbound business, but our partners are still very good, and this is the best way to develop in China. You need to have a good partner, rely on this partner, and grow our brands with numbers which are not comparable to all the countries. When you grow in China, it's always big figures in terms of development.
Patrick Mendes, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your time.